Upstairs at Froelich, show 205, reel 1.
Man, there's not a year goes by, not a year, that I don't read about some escalator accident involving some bastard kid that could have been easily avoided had some parent, I don't care which one, but some parent conditioned him to fear and respect that escalator.
I guess for the listening audience, we will say the reason that I want to do this episode, because like David said, this is my show. 2019 was a hell of a fucking year for movies.
A good year or a bad year?
Oh, it was a great year.
Really? Okay.
I think no, it was better than the last couple of years.
Okay.
The last couple of years have been pretty rough. Like I'd say 2016 through 2018, they've been kind of rough on the movie front a little bit. Like I've only found like maybe 3 or 4 good movies that came out those years. This year there were a ton of good movies that came out.
Okay. But
I mean, and I will tell you right now, it was and the reason I really wanted is it was so hard for me to come up with a top 10 list because there were so many movies I thought were phenomenal. Now, Star Wars for me is too sacred to be lumped into any top 10
it shouldn't.
list.
No, it shouldn't be listed because yes, it is one of the most, if not the most important franchise in my generation, and quite possibly for yours too.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to remember, I was non-existent when Star Wars and Empire came out, but I was around for Return of the Jedi.
Right.
So,
right.
and I did see
and the prequels.
I did see the first 3 Star Wars movies, not the prequels, but the original trilogy in theaters, even though they were the special editions.
The special edition with Luke screaming as he fell. Even though
I can at least still
deliberately killed himself.
And say I saw him on a big screen projected on film. You know, a lot of people my age, they don't remember it or they can't say it.
All right. Well, before you get into your list, because this is like mainly your show, I only saw like a few movies. Strangely enough, though, I had a revelation at the restaurant after the movie. I said, this is the second Adam Driver movie we've seen this year. And she was like, remind me, what was the first one? And I said, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, the Terry Gilliam movie. He was in that too. So apparently we went to see Adam Driver movies this year. But the problem was I did have plans to see other movies after Once Upon a Time in America. Like I wanted to go see Dr. Sleep, and I wanted to go see Alien, the 40th anniversary reissue of a movie 40 years old, I might add. But unfortunately, my cat's death kind of made it really impossible for me to have any kind of fun or enjoyment. And really, I only went to see Rise of Sky. I really did not have hopes for the movie at all. But we'll get into that at some other. Actually, you'll have already heard the podcast about Rise of Skywalker before you even heard this one. So, but before you started, I wanted to give you the list of the 10 highest grossing films of 2019, and we can compare notes. But one of the more disturbing elements of this list is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those 10 movies are Disney movies.
Yep, all Disney.
Yesterday, this list was not. It was only 6 Disney movies, but now Rise of Skywalker has entered into the top 10. It's at the bottom, number 10 on the list so far. The movies are, of course, number 10 was Rise of Skywalker by Disney, $725 million so far. Hobbs and Shaw comes in at number 9 for Universal. Aladdin, of course, the Will Smith version, live action.
No thanks.
Comes in at number 8, also Disney. Joker comes in at number 7, Warner Brothers. Toy Story 4, Captain Marvel come in at 6 and 5, respectively, for Disney, at a little over $1 billion each. Spider-Man Far From Home for Sony goes in number 4. Frozen 2, which I don't understand why we needed another Frozen movie, comes in at number 3. The Lion King, the live-action version that I believe a lot of people said destroyed their childhoods.
Yeah, I haven't even seen it, and I refuse to.
And number 1, can you just make a stab at what number 1?
Avengers Endgame.
At $2.7 billion, which is ridiculous.
But I can honestly say that out of that whole 10 list, I think I can think of 2 movies that deserve the money they made. One of which obviously is Avengers Endgame, because let's just face it, that was the culmination of fucking 11 years of work.
I suppose if you had started with, because we had this conversation before, I asked you, where do I start if I want to start this Marvel Comics universe? And you said Iron Man, right?
Yep.
So it begins with Iron Man back in what,
2008,
and it culminates with Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
All
and right. The other movie that I think was deserving of the money it made was Joker. It was very deserving of the money that it made.
I thought, what about Spider-Man Far From Home?
You see, that's half Disney, so I can't consider that. We
Oh, okay.
already knew that movie was going to make a fuck ton of money, but that's half Disney. So
Half, but Sony gets the distributor title for that one.
yep, they get the distributor title because they still own Spider-Man outright, but they leased it to Disney so they could put him in the MCU. So
All right, gotcha.
you know, so that's a half a Disney movie. So basically, you said 7 out of 10. I'm saying 7.5 out of 10.
7.5. Okay.
7.5. But anyway,
7.5, which is fucking sad. I mean, there's no Fox on this list. There's no Fox was bought by Disney, but they had a couple of titles outstanding that were still Fox releases. And then what's the other company it's missing? MGM is missing. MGM UA.
Lionsgate's missing.
Lionsgate's missing.
Warner Brothers.
Well, Warner Brothers has Joker in there.
Oh yeah, duh.
Just the one DC film. Well, actually, Shazam. They did Shazam as well.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into it, shall we?
All right. Well, first we're going to get into what I like to call either the honorable mentions or the also rans. These are
Also
now
rans.
before we get into this, David only knows my also rans and he knows numbers 10 through 6. I'm keeping numbers 5 through 1 as a surprise,
Right.
so we can at least bounce off each other a little bit on those. So starting with the also rans, my runners up for the year are Shazam and The Irishman.
Shazam and The Irishman. Now, Shazam, I remember a TV show back when I was a kid called Shazam, and it was the hero. And I also remember that Gomer Pyle used to say Shazam.
Shazam,
maybe-
Shazam, Shazam.
Maybe because he read the comic books or something like that. His character.
What I will say about Shazam, I didn't have high hopes for it at first, but then I saw that first trailer, and then I was like, okay, they got me. And I actually snuck off to see it in theaters, and I was very surprised with how much I liked that movie. Zachary Levi as Shazam was just a brilliant piece of casting.
Well, he's basically kind of like a dorky white guy who becomes a superhero? Is that what it's all about?
It's a kid who basically gets the power of the Ancient Ones. It's like the Ancient One is Shazam. He's basically been he's been on lookout for all these years. He's been guarding the ancient evil, and he needs to pass his power on to someone who's worthy before he can die.
Okay.
And the person he finds worthy is the kid whose name I can't remember right now.
But all the publicity photographs have him sitting there drinking a soda or eating a sandwich in his costume. So I'm thinking that he's kind of comic relief, or this is a comic version of a superhero movie.
It's a superhero version of Big.
A superhero. I wish I were big.
Pretty much.
I wish I was
Now,
big.
Regarding The Irishman, we did an episode.
We did an episode. We talked about it. You will love that movie a hell of a lot more than I did, but you did say I changed your mind about a few things.
Yeah, you did change my mind. That's why it became an also ran or a runner-up. I will say this, and we will end it and bury it here. While I think it is a great Scorsese movie, I would rather watch Casino, Departed, or fucking Goodfellas over The Irishman any day of the week.
Yeah. Okay. Now I want to bring up The Departed for a second because we watched that last weekend, and I don't know what it was. Maybe I wasn't paying attention the first go around. This was an incredible movie. This was a stunning fucking movie. This is what I was telling you about how Scorsese is a physical director. He's intensely physical, and The Departed is a very physical movie. And it was made a few years ago, 2009 or something, right?
2006.
2006. Ooh, even 13 years ago. So he's like, there's no time for Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon to go around saying, those are some really nice pants. I really like those pants.
Or how do you like them apples?
I got a number. How you like them apples?
Applesauce, bitch.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, like The Irishman. I mean, it's a cut above a lot of movies that are made. Certainly, a lot of movies that are made for Netflix, because those movies, they do tend to be a little bit cheap. But I think on your next on your list, you've got a streaming movie there, right?
I do. Number 10 on my list of the 10 best films of 2019 is El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie.
No, I have to tell you, I never got into Breaking Bad. It was just a show. Maybe I'll wait a few years. Like I'll do a lot of these things in a few years. I'll when it dies down and people shut the fuck up about it, I'll watch Breaking Bad. I'll watch Mad Men. I'll even try to watch Game of Thrones. I watched the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones. Couldn't really get into it. And all these people are always telling me, like, Andrew drives me nuts, because I told him I hated that Dead to Me show that was on Netflix. I can't watch. I stopped watching after 2 episodes. And he was like, oh, but you don't understand. You missed all the best stuff. And I'm like, what? You're making a pilot of a TV show. You want to put all your best stuff in the pilot so you can have people watching. You don't want to put stuff in there that's like going to have people going, I don't want to watch this.
Now, you see, that was the same thing for me with Parks and Recreation, because like everyone told me first season.
Oh my God, you have to see Parks and Recreation.
No, well, you know what they told me? They did it the right way. They said, watch the pilot and then watch the last episode of season 1, skip the middle.
Skip the middle? Oh, well, I did enjoy Parks because I liked, they were trying to do this Office thing, but they were doing it with Amy Poehler instead of Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, yeah.
But I thought she did a fine job. I thought because she's one of those few comedians, if you will, that actually makes fun of herself, and it's very hard to find women to actually make fun of themselves anymore.
Now that
she didn't worry about being a buffoon, you know?
No, she didn't worry about it. Now this goes into my whole thing about Breaking Bad. Was like, this was a show that was, I tried to watch it when it first came out, but like I had a lot going on. I couldn't really invest myself into it. And then when the show ended, I decided, you know what, everyone's been saying Breaking Bad's this great show. I'm going to fucking binge watch it. It was all on Netflix minus the last season of time. And I was like, okay, I'm hooked. I was watching like 1 or 2 episodes a day.
They have a couple of knockoffs too. There was a show called Ozark with Jason Bateman, also very good. Kind of a Breaking Bad premise.
The whole movie is about Jesse Pinkman.
But there you have a high recommendation from John.
And the main reason I recommend it is because a movie we didn't ask for, but we got it, and it turned out to be great. But you really have to be a Breaking Bad fan to appreciate it. So
okay.
that movie being on the list is a little divisive. So
well, I'm going to add on to yours because there was a movie from a TV show that was released this year, a TV show that I absolutely loved watching on HBO. It was Deadwood. Deadwood, the movie, came out this year. It was fantastic. It was on HBO. It's a great continuation and an end to the story. Starring my boys, Timothy Olyphant and Ian McShane. Fucking awesome, and the movie was fantastic. It was a little heartbreaking too at the end, but that's the Timothy Olyphant I love. Okay, I don't love Timothy Olyphant and Santa Clarita Diet. I cannot stress that enough. Timothy Olyphant is a man.
How about we both agree that we loved him in Justified and Walk On?
He's fine in Justified.
I've seen
him. Again, he's a man. He is a man, okay? He is not a pussy-whipped little beta male who worships his crazy-ass zombie wife. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, but but I must mention that as a continuation of a TV show. Something I saw, rare for this year. Deadwood. Go ahead and see that, too.
On David's recommendation, I'll give that up there for him. But moving on to number 9, and I'm going to say this is easily my most controversial choice on the list, because this was a movie that a lot of people hated, but I fucking loved it, and that was M. Night Shyamalan's Glass.
Now, Glass is a sequel continuation of 2 separate movies that he did. I did not see Split, unfortunately, but my wife did. My wife wanted to see Glass, but we never got around to it, of course. But we both did see Unbreakable when it came out back in the day, 2001 or something.
It was 2001. I saw it opening weekend in the theater. It was the one time that me and my cousins from Ohio all got together to go to the movies. The one and only time we ever did, and we all saw Unbreakable.
No, I'll tell you that when I saw Unbreakable the first time, I did not like it. I liked how it set up. I hated the last roughly 10 minutes of the movie. Where
the only thing I hate about that movie is the fucking the still frame cards on the end of the movie. That's the only thing I don't like. I mean, if I had to pick something I hated, that's it.
I didn't know. I was unable to bridge the gap between, let's say, Samuel L. Jackson's love for comics and this character that Bruce Willis was creating or inhabiting, where he was impervious to various things, hence the title, right?
Right.
I did not know that it was going to be set up as a superhero origin story. And I was watching this and I was thinking, this is very interesting, but it's not following the beats of a comic book movie. It's a completely original exercise from M. Night. M. Night is a filmmaker I seriously do admire. I love a lot of his work. I really do. Sixth Sense is fine. It's a little overhyped, but it's a fine, well-made movie. Unbreakable, like I said, Unbreakable I didn't like when I first saw it. Loved it on subsequent viewings.
And that's his best movie. That's his best movie.
Now, Signs is another one that I absolutely love. I even loved,
The Village?
I wasn't a big fan of The Village because it reminded me too much of a Twilight Zone episode.
Lady in the Water?
Now, Lady in the Water, I have on DVD. Well, back when we had DVDs, but I do love Lady in the Water. I thought it was fantastic, and even The Happening, which is like this really kind of like it's a parody. Okay, if you can separate what kind of movie it is from what it's trying to be. It's trying to be like a B movie from like the 50s or 60s. And it's kind of silly in that way, but there's some parts of it that are genuinely creepy.
It tries too damn hard, though.
My big problem is Marky Mark. I don't believe in Marky Mark at all in this movie.
Yeah, neither do I. I mean, he is a good actor, but he hams it up so bad in this movie. Zoe Deschanel, with her wide-eyed cluelessness is throughout this. Is like, huh? What? What's going on? I'm like, no, I couldn't do it. And the less we talk about The Last Airbender, the better.
Yes.
And then after that, he came back. I mean, he came back with The Visit, which was, oh my God, was that movie great.
The Visit, is that the one about the killer grandma?
Yes.
All right, okay, and she tries to get kids into the oven or something like that. There's another one. Okay, Split, he did. Oh, he also, he wrote this movie called Demon about an elevator. Devil, sorry. And Split comes out. Split is James McAvoy plays this guy with all these multiple personalities or something like that. So what he does, and anyway, Bronwyn really loves Split. She still thought it was really good. She wants me to watch it. I'll get around to it eventually. But so he takes these three separate characters, two from Unbreakable and one from Split, and makes Glass.
Which was just, you know what the problem was? Why a lot of people didn't like that movie. I'll tell you why they didn't like it. They didn't like it because they honestly thought they were just going to get like this big straight up action movie where all three of these characters are going to be fucking each other up 8 ways from Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. But it turned out to be this psychological thriller set in a hospital that you had to appreciate it for its dialogue, for its story. Honestly, that's some of the best dialogue that M. Night Shyamalan's ever written for any film that he's ever done. Okay, I've been following this man's career ever since Sixth Sense, for Christ's sake. I loved Glass. I thought it was a great movie. The trailers messed with your head, you thinking you were going to see this grandiose epic of a film, but it turned out to be a very, very minuscule film.
Kind of like a minimalist kind of thriller. Kind of
it was a very minimalist thriller.
The problem is they don't give M. Night the money that he wants anymore. So now he's had to kind of downsize a lot of his work.
Well, he's been getting better budgets now because I heard with The Visit, he put up his house. I heard he had to put up his house for that, but the movie ended up breaking pretty good, so he got his money back. And then he did Split. He got more money for that. And with Glass, he was basically given a lot more money with Glass because it was two studios. That was Disney and Universal.
So does he cameo himself in this movie?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He cameos right in the beginning. Yeah. I mean, it's an in your face fucking cameo. It's really in your face. It's actually a callback to Unbreakable. Right. So it was a good callback cameo, but I loved the movie. A lot of people are going to disagree with me. They're going to be like, oh my God, Glass was so terrible. And I'm like, why? What was so bad about it? Like, that's what you want to ask. What was so bad?
There's Glass? Like this thing. Everybody hates M. Night now. I mean, like he got really popular really fast, and his first 1, 2, 3, 4 movies were enormous hits.
And then he started leveling out, and then his movies weren't making money, but then he came back, Too bad Michael Cimino couldn't do that,
yeah.
But moving right along, so number 8, and this movie was expected to be on this list, Joker, which I'm putting this on this list for one reason alone. I will be honest with you, I thought I was going to hate the ever-loving shit out of this movie because I do not like Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix I can take in small doses. He was fine in Gladiator, where he's terribly vexed. He was good in Signs, with Mel Gibson playing his brother Merrill. Swing Away Merrill.
Swing Away Merrill.
And what else? He was okay in the Johnny Cash movie, except there were problems with the Johnny Cash.
There were way too many problems with that movie. The movie was too hokey. It was too fake. The whole issue I have with him is every movie he does, he mumbles.
He mumbles. He's got this weird kind of autistic thing going on where he doesn't make eye contact with you. But Joker's interesting to me because it's something that I can't stand the reaction to the movie. There seems to be a lot of hate for the movie because of I don't know where we came to this point where we're psychoanalyzing movies, we're psychoanalyzing characters in movies, and yeah, they made a movie about a supervillain. And kind of an origin story that isn't... I mean, the thing about Joker, I was bitching to my wife today, I think. Before we went to the movies, I bitched to my wife. I was like, he was Cesar Romero. he was Jack Nicholson, and then he became Heath Ledger. And my favorite Joker has always been Jack Nicholson, really, because he's just so fucking goofy. Yeah, he's a homicidal, world's first fully functioning homicidal artist, but I always found him so entertaining. I did not, and I know this is probably sacrilege. Okay,
no, here it comes.
I didn't come in my pants over Heath Ledger. Okay, I thought Heath Ledger was doing an imitation of Jack Nicholson and doing an imitation of something else. He kind of reminded me of Kurt Cobain. You know, Christopher Nolan. The Batman movies that he did, with the exception of Batman Begins, I really enjoyed Batman Begins. Did not care for the other two movies he made. I thought he's putting way too much thought and psychological baggage against these supervillains when they're just supposed to be bad guys. Batman's supposed to be a good guy. Yeah, he's got shades and everything, but for me, those final two movies, Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, were kind of boring. They were way too long.
I'm only going to agree with you on that on Dark Knight Rises for everything that you pretty much
also,
said.
Who the fuck came up with the idea to cast Anne Hathaway as Catwoman? She's like the least appealing woman in the universe.
Hey, you know what? I hate to say this, she was probably the only good bright spot in the Dark Knight Rises. I watched this again recently.
I guess for you, but remember, Catwoman was Julie Newmar.
I know, Julie Newmar.
Eartha Kitt, Lee Merriweather, and Michelle Pfeiffer, for fuck's sake. I mean, like, you know, even Halle Berry has more claim to Catwoman than Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway looks like Minnie Mouse.
Now, the only thing with Joker was, yes, even though the movie was derivative of Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy, let's face it, most of the people who have made that assessment, they're correct. You know, I'm not going to deny those assessments. I will not.
But it isn't, well, I mean, it's interesting that so many people hated this movie because of what they thought it represented, and it is a big hit. It's a big hit. It's in the top 10.
And I thought it was. I mean, that movie. Honestly, it's one of those things where you say, you know, this movie wouldn't even be as good as it was without Joaquin Phoenix, and it gets on that list alone because finally Joaquin Phoenix did a movie I liked. Okay,
well, it's surprising that Todd Phillips directed this movie because he directed those goofy Hangover movies, you know.
The Hangover, Old School, fucking Road Trip. You know, this guy cut his teeth in fucking screwball teen sex comedies, for God's sake.
He should have probably cast Will Ferrell as the Joker, you know.
Exactly. And then now
Will Ferrell's another guy I really can't stand, but
Will Ferrell's Small Doses for me. That's about it. Small Doses.
Yeah,
but
he thinks it's funny if you talk like this.
Yeah. But Joaquin, though, man, he brought it home. He did such a phenomenal piece of work. I predict an Oscar nomination for him. I don't know if he's going to win yet, but I predict he will get nominated for an Academy Award for his performance. Maybe not the movie, but I think he will. But moving right along to what I like to call my contrarian film that's going to be on this list because it's a movie that everybody saw this year and it's a movie that everybody liked, Spider-Man Far From Home. I enjoyed this movie more than I did Spider-Man Homecoming. I love Mysterio as the villain. I love every twist and turn. Just when you think this movie is going one way, it fucking twists another way. And if you haven't seen it yet, which I know you haven't, the ending will rape you in the face.
Well, all right. Sideline question, rather. What did you think of Venom? Did you see that?
Boo!
Didn't like Venom. Okay.
Let's just sum it up in one quick word. Venom needed to be a fucking R-rated movie. End of story. It was from the director of fucking Zombieland, for Christ's sake, and he couldn't even make it.
Was it a hard PG-13, like very close?
Oh, it was a hard PG. It was a hard PG-13. It was a very hard PG-13. Okay. But you can tell that there were some scenes they left on the cutting room floor. Like I was going to say at the end of this what my picks for the worst movies of the year were. So we'll go on to that later on. But yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home. I was very impressed with it. I didn't think, again, another movie that took me by surprise. It's like, how are you going to top Homecoming? Because that movie was just the shot in the arm that the Spider-Man franchise needed for years. Because
the thing about it is it's unfortunate that it didn't come out this year, but I was really genuinely surprised by how good Into the Multiverse was.
Yeah,
I thought it was fantastic, that film, and I'm not big on comic book movies, and I'm certainly not big on really animated movies anymore. This one really did surprise me, but it came out last year. It did win, I believe, for Best Animated Feature.
It did, and after I watched it about 3 weeks ago, and I thought it was amazing, too.
It was fantastic.
If I did a top 10 list last year, that movie would have been in the top 10.
Yes.
But
yes,
but like it's just a sad state that knowing until Disney got involved with Spider-Man, the last good Spider-Man movie we had was Spider-Man 2. My only horror movie that I put on the list this year, and again, another horror movie that I knew I was going to like, but I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did.
Right.
Ready or not?
And when I was collecting pictures, I noticed some people in the cast that I recognized that I hadn't seen in a while.
Andy McDowell for number one.
Well, Andy McDowell, Henry Chersney, and Adam Brody. Adam Brody was this guy. He was like this. He started. I remember seeing him on Gilmore Girls. He was on Gilmore Girls, and then he left, and he was on some show called The OC, I think it was, on Fox.
I believe so.
And then after that, he just sort of disappeared. I mean, like he was going to be the next It Boy, and then he disappeared.
But then I'm glad he did this little small project, because this movie was a very small project. You know, it was a Fox Searchlight project, so that means, you know, and I know this movie was in development before the Disney buyout.
Well, it had a $6 million budget, but it made $60 million domestically,
exactly.
Which is
pretty good. That's how small this movie was. It was a $6 million horror movie, and it made bank. And on top of that, it was a good movie, too. Because the thing I liked about it was there was a supernatural element to the movie,
right.
but you don't know if the family is crazy or if that supernatural element is actually coming to fruition. Again, you haven't seen the movie, so can't spoil it.
well, get around to it, because I have heard good things about it.
It was it amazed me in so many ways.
Well, it's interesting that it was made for so little money. Obviously, it's not like a big sprawling epic. It's like a smaller, more self-contained movie, and it's horror, so it's kind of must have like an old school. I'm just guessing here, but I'm guessing it's kind of an old school horror.
Oh yeah, it's got 80s fucking slasher written all over it. And on top of that, this movie was so original. And that's a word that doesn't get thrown around too much in the horror movie circles these days, is original. And it was a very original movie.
Yes.
So that's why it deserved a spot on the top 10, because it was probably like everyone's talking about, Ari Aster, the guy who did Midsommar and Hereditary. I have no interest in these movies because I just don't like that style of filmmaking. It's way too subliminal. I just like in your face fucking punch to the gut fucking horror movies. I don't like anything subliminal. And this was just a great punch to the gut, in your face fucking horror movie that just entertained the hell out of you, had a bunch of great gore effects, and just made you laugh on top of that. And you were talking about Adam Brody. He was one of the best parts of the movie because he was funny as fuck. So, but anyway, you now officially know my top 6.
Well, I already knew.
The
now you're
6
gonna,
that you already knew. Now
you're going to surprise me.
Now for the surprises. Number 5, and a movie from a director that you recently bashed for making the second worst Star Wars movie of all time. Number 5 goes to Knives Out.
Get the fuck out of here.
Knives Out.
See the door? Get out. I had some words about Rian Johnson because I went off on him at dinner. because we had just seen Rise of Skywalker, and I was like, this is how you make a Star Wars movie. I think this is what I told my wife. I said, Rian Johnson is a faker. He thinks everything he writes is brilliant, and he hopes that nobody understands it so that they'll think he's a genius. This is what I've thought about. He's very up his own ass. He's very self-important. That's how I see it. Yeah, I'm sure Knives Out got some great reviews or whatever, but he really has to kind of what he did. I mean, I seriously felt raped after Last Jedi. I felt like I had been held down.
Here's what I will say about Knives Out. It did not feel like, it felt like a Rian Johnson movie, but at the same time, it didn't feel like a Rian Johnson movie, and that's why it actually.
Wait! It had a story. Did it have a story?
Oh, it had a story.
Was the editing in service to the story?
Yes.
Was there a resolution that was satisfying?
Yes.
Okay, this doesn't sound like Rian Johnson at all.
Yes. This movie had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it was entertaining.
Did it have like an hour-long segment in the middle that went nowhere?
No.
Okay.
And the best thing about this movie, Daniel fucking Craig.
He plays some kind of a detective or something?
Yes. Again, don't want to spoil why he's there, but you just know he's investigating he's investigating the death of the patriarch in this extended family, and he was hired to basically consult, but nobody knows who the fuck hired him. He doesn't even know who hired him. He just knows he was paid $10,000 to come out there and consult through this murder investigation or homicide.
Well, it has a great cast in it. It's got, of course, Daniel Craig. It's got Chris Evans, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Don Johnson, Toni Collette, Christopher Plummer, and fucking Frank Oz is in this movie too. And Emmett Walsh. This must have been one of Emmett Walsh's last movies.
He had a nice. It was a bit role, but it was a funny part. Like you knew it was Emmett Walsh. He was being all Emmett Walshy in the movie, which was cool about it.
Actually, I'm really sorry. Emmett Walsh is still alive.
Oh, I know he's still alive.
For some reason, I thought he was dead. I don't know why.
Oh, I know he's still alive.
He's Snake Plissken, apparently. I thought he was dead.
So I thought you were dead. Yeah, I get that a lot. But anyway, Daniel Craig in this movie was just, you were just so enamored by that man's performance. I will tell you this right now. I'm calling it. I'm fucking calling it. Best supporting actor. He's going to get it. Moving along to number 4. This movie was eventually going to come up because we talk about comic book movies and all this other stuff. And of course, it was the top grossing film of 2019. So I got to give it up for Avengers Endgame for number 4.
Oh, damn it. I thought it was going to be Lighthouse.
No. You know what? I want to see that. That's one of the movies I haven't gotten around to.
Can I just say I'm only morbidly curious because I really hated that guy's other movie, The Witch, that I reviewed for Halloween last year. I didn't like that, but this one does look interesting anyway. I don't know. He does this again. It's this minimalist horror, but the thing is, nothing really happens in his movies. It's like
what's funny? While in preparation for this, no bullshit, Chris Stuckman just came out with his top 10 list this year. Lighthouse was fucking number 1 on his list.
Interesting.
I could not fucking believe it. I was so taken aback by that.
It's like you've got, but the thing is, that his movies don't cost any money. That's why he's got 2 names in the cast, right?
Right.
What's his
Willem Dafoe and Robert
Pattinson. Now in The Witch, he had only one name in his cast, and that was Ray Winstone, who was in like Gangs of New York and The Departed. He was in a bunch of things. Fine performances, great atmosphere. Unfortunately, he shoots on digital, and it really shows. I mean, it really shows. He doesn't really try to do anything to.
And on top of that, dude, this one's digital, shot in full frame, right. Or I should say, Academy.
Yeah, an Academy standard, because he's trying to like give you that feeling, that evoking of. He's like one of these purist types,
Yeah, but then if you're going to be a purist, shoot on fucking film, shoot on 16
That's
millimeter.
what I said in my review of The Witch. I said this movie would have been so much better had it been shot on film, because it looked too damn clean. So back to Avengers Endgame. Yeah, this was the culmination of everybody went fucking psycho right up until this movie was released. And then, you hear a lot of things, and it's kind of like how these Game of Thrones fans got really pissed off about the final season. And the thing is, I never cared about it, so it was like,
I didn't give a shit either. I could have cared less about Game of Thrones.
But a lot of people did not like the end resolution of Endgame, even though a lot of them knew, because it was kind of strictly out of the comic books, right?
Now, you see, I don't know about that, because mostly in my circle of friends, in my group, every single one of us loved how that movie ended. I mean, I know you haven't seen it yet, so again, I can't spoil it. Somebody's going to fucking die. And the choice is fucking obvious who is going to die.
Right.
And you can't be upset about that.
Right. Famke Janssen. Famke Janssen dies,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Fucking Dark Phoenix, man. Fucking Dark Phoenix. But anyway.
Wait, can I just ask? I had a question. Oh, okay. It was a purchasing question. Say you're me and you don't have any of these movies. Is it available as a box set? This whole Marvel Extended Universe comics set that you can just buy the box set and watch them all.
It was.
Okay.
It's sold out.
So it's not available anymore. But you don't think they might make it again?
I don't think they will. It was a Best Buy exclusive.
How much? What are we talking about? We're talking about these movies made like $1 billion each, right?
Damn near all of them did.
So how many billions of dollars is that? I mean, that's a lot of, take some of that money, make me a Blu-ray set, put it out there. I guarantee, okay, we can do what you're doing.
You also got to remember.
How you were telling me about the Star Wars box set. There's a new Star Wars Blu-ray box set. It's got this nice coffee table book that it comes with, right?
Right.
So we can do that.
Yeah, but you see, the thing was, this set was limited to the fact that I think they only made a couple of 2,000 sets, and it was all 4K. But you see, the asking price was like 500 bones, and I was like, even I was on the fence about this. Like, I'm like, dude, I've already got every Marvel movie excluding this was at the time. I was like, I have every Marvel movie excluding Captain Marvel, the new Spider-Man, and fucking Avengers Endgame. I don't want to fucking buy this set knowing I already have all these other movies that I bought on Blu-ray like day one.
So I could just go to
knew,
Amazon and just get them all separately then.
Yeah, but then here's the thing, dude. If I knew then what I know now, I would have fucking bought the thing because now they're reselling for double.
Oh, okay.
If not triple. So I could have bought 2 of them and then flipped one, made my money back, and gotten the set for free.
Right.
But that aside, I mean, those little things aside, the cool thing is, man, with the era of physical media going bye-bye, most of these movies are cheap. You can get them for dirt cheap, maybe less than $10 a movie. Okay. You figure there's like 21 movies, so it's going to set you back like $200.
Yeah.
Okay. That's chump change to a lot of people, especially if you're a physical media collector.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I was the one that spent more money on these movies because I bought damn near all of them day one. But Avengers Endgame, like we said, this movie was it was the 11 years of the MCU all culminating into this one big fucking moment. And, my expectations were so high. It was just like, I've been following this since 2008. Is this going to succeed? And holy shit, did it succeed. Like, Infinity War was good. It had like a couple of missteps, but on the whole, I liked it. I was just hoping Endgame could bring it home. And damn it, did Endgame bring it home. And yes, I cried at the theater. I don't care. I will admit that I cried at the fucking end. Because it was just such a tear-jerking movie right near the end. So it deserved a number 4 spot. As contrarian as it sounds, it deserved the number 4. But this is the last contrarian film in my top 10.
Okay, so I can guess what number 3 is going to be.
Oh, it's not what you think.
Oh, it's going to be The Lion King.
No, God, no. No.
I have a little sound effects thing I've been trying to use this thing. Like, for instance...
Yep, exactly. That's what The Lion King is to me. Fucking Pac-Man getting eaten by the ghost. It's all over. That movie gave up the ghost. Jon Favreau, I love you, man, but Lion King, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Dude, you do The Mandalorian, and then you do fucking Lion King.
Hell, dude, Zathura, I like that one.
Yeah, Zathura was great. Zathura was fucking awesome, man.
I loved Zathura, and I also like the original Jumanji. But apparently, there's a new franchise of Jumanji that's doing killer business these days.
Yeah, because the people that are doing them are doing it with care. But anyway, number 3, a movie that I wanted to be good, a movie that I'm glad I was good. It was a comeback performance. Dolomite is my name.
All right. I saw that on Netflix. I did not watch the movie yet. I have heard it is good. Unfortunately, I only looked at the first 5 minutes because I was trying to test the sound setup on my stereo from the digital audio out cable that doesn't seem to work. I can never get that damn thing to work.
This is why it's always HDMI. That's why I love having a regular home theater that uses HDMI, fucking 5.1 True HD. I love it. But Dolomite is My Name is one of those movies you really don't need the home theater for. Okay. I mean, it's a dialogue-driven film. And
but it is available in 7.1.
Yes, 7.1. I don't even know if it's... But it's 7.1 over Netflix, so it's probably Dolby Digital Plus or some shit. I don't even know. I don't even know. But point I'm getting at with this movie, welcome back, Eddie Murphy.
So this is... what I do know about this is that it's about... this guy is making wants to make a black exploitation movie, obviously Dolomite, which was Rudy Ray Moore. Is that who it was?
Rudy Ray Moore,
and Eddie Murphy is hired to play this part, and it's basically kind of like a...
I already got the word you're looking for because the same screenwriters did this movie. This is the blaxploitation version of Ed Wood.
Ed Wood. Okay, so yeah, that's what I was going to say. But the thing about it is, Dolomite I've seen before. It's actually actually a fairly decent movie, the original, right?
Yeah.
So what this is it's where Ed Wood kind of gives you like the no budget filmmaking of the 50s, the late 50s. Dolomite gives you the no budget or low budget blaxploitation movie making of the 70s, the early 70s.
And you see, and blaxploitation was still kind of in its infancy around that time.
Yeah,
it was really in its infancy because, like, I think the only big one that really came out was Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song. Right. And that was 1971, I believe.
What was that? Melvin Van Peebles.
Yep, Melvin Van Peebles.
Father of Mario Van Peebles, who was Solo, the original Solo before
Han Solo. There was Solo from '96.
Alden Ehrenreich. That guy.
When you get a movie made by Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski, especially if you are a diehard Ed Wood fan like me, like that's why I knew this movie was going to be good, because it was from the same screenwriters as Ed Wood.
Well, yeah, yeah.
They were you knew that the casting was going to be right, and Eddie Murphy.
Didn't they also do The People versus Larry Flint from Milos Forman?
Yes,
Man on the Moon too, right?
Yup. Great bio. You see,
so they're bio people, yeah.
They're good biopic people. And they do, even though there are some dramatized elements.
There are a lot of exaggerations, especially in Ed Wood. I'm preparing an article to be published, I think, maybe in February.
Because we all know Bela Lugosi never said, "All right, let's shoot this fucker."
And also, I mean, I point out the various inconsistencies in a lot of biopics, but Ed Wood is the only one that really comes up in my article, because I know a lot about Ed Wood and some of the things that they do, and some of the problems that can be as a result of biographical picks, is that you have to have these beats in place where you have, somebody overcoming odds and then eventually triumphing at the end, and that's not how Ed Wood's life played out, unfortunately.
See, the funny thing is with Rudy Ray Moore, that's exactly what happened, because that actually was his life. I mean, he came to Hollywood to try to make his big break. He couldn't make his big break. And then he was working in a record store, like the biggest record store in LA at the time. He was trying to make it as a musician, but nobody would play his music.
He was trying to make it as a stand-up. He was trying to make it. He was an MC at a comedy club. He was an MC before he ever did stand-up.
Yeah, he was just like the guy you hired every night to introduce everybody.
And he was like a few years before Richard Pryor. That's how far back it was.
But then he got this, he ended up he knew this bum, like they said, this is true. Like they never said the character's name in real life, but he always talked to this bum about how he would tell these crazy stories about the pimp named Dolomite. And he finally decided, you know what, I'm going to put this into my act and see where it goes. And it turned out it was a big hit. And then he self-financed the first album that he did. And then it got picked up by a small record company. And then they just kept cranking out Dolomite albums. Then he came up with the idea, well, you know what, maybe we should make a Dolomite movie. And that's exactly what he did.
How many comebacks is that now for Eddie Murphy?
Oh, God, let's see. He according to an article,
he's had as many as John Travolta, right?
Oh, no. Eddie Murphy's had more than John Travolta.
Okay.
You see, Eddie Murphy, I think, has had 4 comebacks.
Well, he's a big star back in his Paramount years. Then he fell from grace, came back in Shrek, right? Then he fell from grace again, came back in Dreamgirls he was in, right?
And then he fell from grace and came back with this one.
Okay.
So he fell from grace. He fell from grace after Vampire in Brooklyn.
Right.
That was his fall. Came back with Dr. Dolittle and Nutty Professor.
Nutty Professor, fell from grace, then came back with Shrek, right?
No, Shrek was around that time, because it went Nutty Professor, then it went Dr. Dolittle, then he did Nutty Professor to the Clumps, then he did Shrek, but then he did fucking Pluto Nash. And then he did I Spy, and then he did fucking Showtime. But
Meet Dave, Norbit.
Yeah, but you see, that's another conversation. Then he did Bowfinger, which is a movie a lot of people don't talk about. Great fucking movie. I love Bowfinger. Yeah,
I remember Bowfinger. I remember enjoying it too. I thought Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy, good pairing.
Yes, great pairing. The thing that happened with Dreamgirls is that everyone said he was going to win the Academy Award, but he made the mistake of releasing Norbit right after he got the nomination, and the Academy was pretty pissed at him for that. So they basically said, yeah, fuck you, we're giving it to Alan Arkin.
Yeah, that's why Adam Sandler really needs to watch his butt right now.
Yeah, he does.
Really seriously needs to watch his butt.
He needs to shut his fucking mouth, because, anyway, like we said, we're just going to say Dolomite is my name. Phenomenal fucking movie. You haven't seen it, check it out. But you were going to segue into number 2.
Okay.
Number 2, Adam Sandler, in the performance of the man's fucking career, Uncut Gems.
Just watched it last night. It blew me away. It totally blew me away. It's kind of weird too, because it's a movie. This is a movie, and good, I can talk about something now for a change. We watched Green Book earlier in the day, and that was the movie that won Best Picture last year. And correct. I watched it, and I thought it was a competent movie. But I felt like the makers of the movie, which strangely enough is one of the Farrelly brothers, who made one of the greatest comedies of all time with There's Something About Mary, that is on my top 10 list of funniest movies ever. They do this really rather safe movie. That's a very safe movie. It's a political, social subject. They're not... Peter Farrelly is trying to make his characters, going out of their way to make the characters likable. And the problem, it doesn't really work, unfortunately. Now, you look at a movie like Uncut Gems, this is the exact opposite. This is a movie about a little mouse of a man, a fucking cockroach, a loser of a man who has absolutely he does not redeem himself in any way. He plays a jeweler in New York. He's got a family. He cheats on his wife. He's got children. He doesn't pay any attention to them. He's obsessed with basketball. He's obsessed with jewelry. He has one thing. There is just one thing that he wants, and he wants this thing that he got from Africa. It had to be smuggled into the country inside a fish, for fuck's sake. And it's this rock filled with pure uncut gems. He reasons he could make $1 million off of this, but he doesn't. It gets bandied about back and forth. He's in trouble with debt collectors, one of whom is his brother-in-law, which is so fucking shocking to me. It's just such an the movie felt like it was made in the 80s. It had this 80s feel to it, especially because you got the synthesizer-related synthesizer.
Well, I even told you
music.
that last night. The opening credits and the synthesizer sound, that's straight out of John Carpenter right there.
It reminded me a lot of John, except John Carpenter would never make a movie like this, but it does have his tone. It has his feel to it in this way. It's like, okay, or maybe Albert Pune, like a little bit of Albert Pune thrown in there. There's a little bit of down-twisted. There's a down-twisted feel to this, or a dangerously close feel to this. It's got such, and it's so alive. This is such a physical movie too. I told you, it reminded me of Scorsese, like early Scorsese, running around camera, physical, hopping, just a lot of energy running around. And, he was a producer on the film. He was probably, they probably gave him the script, said, what do you think of this? And he was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to pass it on to the studio people, and you might be able to make this movie. That's what I think happened. They got Scorsese in there as a powerful piece of leveraging clout.
Well, this is, I think, A24. This is the biggest film that they've ever rolled out, because they're just a small little independent studio and everything like that. But they said, like, most of their movies, they don't roll out this big. But they knew there was hype. They knew about the buzz because of the Toronto International Film Festival, so they rolled it out in over 2,000 theaters. This movie made bank on its official opening week, and it did so well. Made like $18 million.
What was the budget?
Oh God, I don't even know. I know it was small though. It had to have been that small.
It's not listed. The budget isn't listed on the Wikipedia. I know that.
You know what's so funny though? This is one thing I want to do.
It seems like such a small movie because it's done in all these locations, but they did shoot it in New York, which I found impressive. But you could probably pull this off for maybe $10-20 million.
Oh, I'd say definitely. This had to have been under. It's $824 for Christ's sake. This was a very small budget movie.
But they don't. Like Adam Sandler, he's still bankable. Adam Sandler is a guy who had his own production company, Happy Madison, right?
Right.
Put out all of his movies. A lot of them are really bad. Like Jack and Jill was terrible, and Pixels was terrible. Adam Sandler, he had tried before to do something dramatic. He did that Paul Thomas Anderson movie, Punch Drunk Love, but that didn't really work. It was okay. I liked the film. I admired the film. Not a big fan of PTA.
It just wasn't okay. We were going to talk about this last night, but we got off tangent. Paul Thomas Anderson, while I do like him as a filmmaker, he's not the type of guy you want to go to get your first serious movie, because P.T. Anderson does, or at least used to at the time, inject a lot of comedy into his roles. Casting Sandler in Punch Drunk Love made sense because you can play him serious, but at the same time he can be funny. That's not the type of movie that you want to. I get where people said, oh, Adam Sandler's being serious. I'm like, this isn't that serious. Like, it's serious, but not serious enough. Then you come to Spanglish. Spanglish is the same thing. It wasn't serious. It wasn't serious. Yeah,
that was James L. Brooks.
Yeah,
right?
James. I was just gonna say James L. Brooks. That's not serious enough. Okay, if you want to take that, look at Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets. Okay, he was funny, but he still won the Best Acting Academy Award. The difference is that's Jack Nicholson versus Adam fucking Sandler. Okay, yeah. That's two different fucking ballparks right there. Okay, and then he tried that. And then he tried that stupid Oscar bait fucking movie, that Reign Over Me piece of shit. I don't even want to talk about that. I hate Oscar bait movies. I really do. Like 7 Pounds with Will Smith. God, that movie was a piece of shit too. Now the one Oscar bait movie with Will Smith that I did like was The Pursuit of Happiness. It was an Oscar bait movie, but it was actually well made. I'll give it that. But then he did that other movie, and I don't want to rape the name of it, like that Meyerowitz Papers or whatever it was that he did with Dustin Hoffman a couple of years back. They were going to say that was like his big serious role, but it didn't really get the big push that they were hoping it was going to get. Like, it didn't get a push.
Well, did you see when you saw Rise of Skywalker? Did you see the trailer for Bad Boys? The final.
Oh, the
Bad
less
Boys?
I talk, no. Martin Lawrence is getting long in the fucking tooth, man.
First Bad Boys was good. Second Bad Boys not so good. I don't know what they're doing here. This is like a desperation bid. It's like Tom Cruise in the new Top Gun movie, you know.
Yeah, but Tom Cruise can do fucking Top Gun too, man. Tom Cruise can do whatever the fuck he wants, man.
You know, I never cared for Top Gun.
I know. Hey, you and I both agree. I don't care for Top Gun either. But this is Tom Cruise.
And are they going to get Kelly McGillis to play his grandmother?
Oh God. You talk about people who have aged terribly.
Yeah.
Say, hey, Scientology might as well be a good thing, right? People, hey, all these Scientology people are aging pretty fucking well. Maybe aliens do exist.
Now, you surprised me by making Uncut Gems your number 2 movie, because I looked at this movie last night. It is one of the best movies I've seen in a few years, let alone 2019. This was an extraordinary film. So I'm a little surprised and shocked and curious, just a little curious about what number 1 is going to be.
My friend, you've known me for quite a long time, and there's one filmmaker out there who we've talked about who is a consistent voice in Hollywood, who's never changed his laurels.
I already know what you're going to say. And
You
I'm
already
typing it in
fucking
right
know, so you might as well just say it.
Yes, it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Correctamundo.
Correctamundo.
Because you know what?
Yolanda, point the gun at me. Point the gun at me. Yeah, this was a great movie, but I would probably switch it. I would probably put it. I don't know if I had to, because I have not seen many of these movies, but I got to go with Uncut Gems on that one. But
it was blinding. I'm going to tell you right now, it was fucking close. You do not know how close this was.
Right, yeah.
It was so close. It was like, it was either going to be Uncut Gems or it was going to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I had to give it to Tarantino because watching this movie a second, third, and fourth fucking time, I appreciate it with each viewing. I appreciate it more with each viewing. Like, the first time we saw it and then we did our episode, I was like, the middle's kind of slow, but like the first act and the third act are fucking great. The second act just drags a little bit. But then I watched the second time, I'm like, well, you know what? That second act isn't bothering me so much anymore. I mean, I'm liking that second act a little bit. Okay. Then you watch it third time, you're like, you know what? I really do fucking like that second act. You know, and then fourth time you're like, yeah, you know what? The whole movie works. The movie works as a whole. You keep the first, second, third act. You don't need to lop anything off.
Okay.
Because it's all about exposition. It's all about character development. Something that Tarantino knows how to do, because he makes you care for these characters.
Well, also, Tarantino is one of the few directors anymore. Scorsese is one of them, obviously, with The Irishman. But he is a director whose movies are conscious, and you know that everything you're seeing in the movie is because of that person.
Yes.
No one sat down at a very big table with a bunch of overpaid executives and approved scenes, approved dialogue. You know, if you're watching Avengers Endgame or something else, let me see what's another one. Maybe even Joker or what's another one? Captain Marvel, I guess you want to talk about. These movies are approved line by line. It's like, you can say this, but you can't say this. We have to do this. We have to consider that. But with Tarantino or Scorsese, still, you're getting everything that's in the back of their head. Everything that's in the back of their head poured onto that screen.
Exactly.
And this is what Hollywood is trying to remove. They want these people, they want these directors to go away. They want to be able to control these movies so that, you know, you can't really like point to a movie and say, oh, that's that person's work. Once Upon a Time in America is a Tarantino movie through and through. It's got all of his trademarks.
And yet, it's more different than anything else that he's ever done. Because, you know, okay, when you think Tarantino, you sometimes don't think about linear storytelling, which this movie actually has. A couple of flashbacks here and there, but for the most part, the movie's linear. Yeah. Which you take a look at Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, all these other movies, they're pretty much non-linear.
Yeah, it probably owes a little bit more to, let's say, Jackie Brown and Inglourious Basterds, I would say.
Right. You have that. And then this cast.
Well, Django, too. Django was kind of linear.
Yeah, Django was very linear. Django was painfully linear. So was The Hateful Eight, but it had that one little flashback element to The Hateful Eight. This movie was just very linear. The casting alone, it was just like, it was a fresh cast of people that Tarantino, even though he worked with them, he didn't work with them like that before. Mm. Like Brad Pitt and DiCaprio were like front and fucking center in this movie, which is when you look at Brad Pitt in Bastards, he's not front and center. He's there, but he's not front and center. Same with DiCaprio and Django. He's there, but he's not front and center. This movie, it's just all about those two guys, and the chemistry that those two have are just nothing short of amazing.
Yes.
It's fucking Butch Sundance all over again, man.
Yeah.
It's Paul Newman and fucking Robert Redford on screen, just doing what they do best, just playing off of each other. You know, I love them for that. Now, Margot Robbie, even though she looks nothing like Sharon Tate, even though her dialogue, she didn't have a lot of dialogue, she was fine in the movie. I'm not going to argue that, because we now know why she was not in the movie, because they reduced the whole Manson murder thing to a footnote, right?
Yes.
You know, Tarantino rewrote history, so obviously Sharon Tate's not going to be the main focus of the movie if she didn't get fucking killed.
Yeah.
Which we now know why. So people can't bitch, oh, Sharon Tate was in it. It's like, yeah, because she didn't fucking die. You know, Roman Polanski wasn't in it because he wasn't there, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and let's just
It was pretty much like what he said. He said that Sharon Tate in the movie, her presence is basically on the periphery. She's like a symbol of that time, that kind of quote-unquote innocence, if you will, of what Hollywood was in the late 60s.
And
it's a Hollywood that comes alive.
It does. Everything, the colors, the landscapes, the set pieces, the cars, down to everything. It is such a beautiful movie to look at. It's grandiose, but in the good way, you know?
I'm thinking it will get cinematography and production design.
You know what the thing is, man? I am starting to think, though, that Tarantino may actually get his directing award for once. Because the thing is, I'm not hearing a lot about directors that are
I don't know. It might get nominations, but I don't think it's going to win.
But the field's open this year. The field is wide open.
Yeah, but it's not a terribly politically correct movie,
right?
And the you know, I mean, like his playing fast and loose with certain things, and then you know the Bruce Lee fans getting all up in his face.
Fuck those people. Okay, seriously, here's me being non-politically correct. Fuck those people that thought Bruce Lee was like this untouchable, nice fucking guy. Because you know what? The only people that really know that are the people that knew him best, and most of those people are gone. So all we're left is the shit with the ages. So if Tarantino wanted to romanticize about it a little bit, fucking let him. It's his movie. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
So I have zero problems with this movie. I think it's certainly not his best, but it's up there. It's up there with some of the best movies he's ever done. Even Tarantino at his worst is still good. That's Death Proof. At his worst, he's still good. When he's doing good, he's great. And when he's doing great, he's amazing. It's like, that's the thing about Tarantino. That's a man who's never made a bad movie, and I don't think he ever will. Okay,
now we have just a little bit of time left. You can tell us about the worst pieces of shit that you saw in 2019.
Oh, yeah. So I have a couple of categories that I wanted to brush over. I'm going to talk about movies that surprised me. Even though I didn't think they were great movies, I thought they were better than they were going to be. That one movie, I should say, is the remake of Child's Play.
Child's Play surprised you?
Surprised me because most remakes are shit, and this one wasn't.
In a good way, though.
In a good way. Mark Hamill is Chucky, man.
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill as Chucky. That was one. I mean, obviously, best comic book movie this year is Avengers. That's gonna be it. Best horror film I thought this year was Ready or Not. But if I want to scrape the bottom of the barrel here, if I want to say what I thought the worst movie of 2019 was, that's an easy answer. X-Men: Dark Phoenix.
Did you see that in the theater?
No, I did that the smart way, man. I waited for video on that movie. Okay. You know what? All I'm gonna say is this: you wonder why Disney fucking bought Fox. X-Men: Dark Phoenix is the reason why Disney fucking bought them.
Wait, to release the movie?
No, because
to kill the franchise.
To kill the franchise, because the thing was, Dark Phoenix was already in production at Fox before the buyout.
Who was that? Jennifer Lawrence playing that part?
It was everybody, like everybody from the First Class series of films, and not Jennifer Lawrence played Jean Grey. It was some other actress. I don't even care to know who her name is. I mean, Nicholas Hoult is fucking Beast. Jennifer Lawrence plays Mystique. James McAvoy plays Professor X. Michael Fassbender plays Magneto. Here's the best way I put it is: you got the guy to make one of the worst X-Men movies, which was X-Men: The Last Stand, to make Dark Phoenix. Did Fox not see the problem here? Fox.
Sophie Turner played Jean Grey, and she was in Game of Thrones.
Okay, well, I haven't seen Game of Thrones. So that's why I don't even know who the hell she is. Okay, I mean, you know what? Fox shot themselves in the foot with X-Men. Okay, this is why Disney bought them, because now they want to integrate the X-Men into the MCU. And you know what? After the last 2 X-Men movies, fucking do it. Okay.
Yeah, I would say the movie was as big. It cost $200 million.
Ugh.
That movie. And it was only 114 minutes, which shows me that they had a problem with it, and it had to be re-edited or something.
That movie went through reshoot after reshoot after reshoot. Shoot, that New Mutants thing that they were gonna do, that they were gonna set up at Fox. That thing is in hell right now. It's fucking sitting in a film can. It's not even gonna come out. You see, Fox, man, dude. I give credit to Fox.
Well, didn't they fuck up before one time with that Wolverine movie? Remember the Wolverine?
X-Men Origins. Yeah, they fucked up with that. You see that? Here's the weird thing though. They strike gold with X-Men 1 and 2. Bryan Singer leaves, and then they get Brett fucking Ratner, the world's biggest hack, to do fucking X-Men Last Stand. Then they do after Last Stand, then they do Wolverine, and then they say, okay, we need to stop this crap. We need to right the ship. Then they get the idea, let's do X-Men First Class. Okay, now that's a good movie because Bryan Singer's brought back on. He can be a producer. Mm-hmm. Then they do, Bryan Singer can direct now. We'll have him come back. He's going to do X-Men Days of Future Past. Fucking great movie. I love X-Men Days of Future Past.
Okay.
Then Bryan Singer's starting to have his little troubles in Hollywood with his, his sexual past and all this other stuff.
And his sexual present.
Yeah. Then he goes on and does X-Men Apocalypse. Not a terrible movie, far from terrible, but still not great. It's like the Justice League of X-Men movies. Because the villain is so uninteresting. When you have a terrible villain, you have a bad movie around it and no one else to play off of. And that's why it was just not that great, because the villain wasn't that good, but the movie wasn't terrible.
Right.
But then you've got Dark fucking Phoenix.
Which was part of a whole cycle of quote-unquote woke movies that were coming out. You had Captain Marvel, you had Terminator Dark Fate, you had Charlie's Angels, and all that stuff coming into it. Where would you rank Captain Marvel in any of this?
I'm indifferent to Captain Marvel. I liked it. I didn't hate it. But you notice how it wasn't on my list.
Yes, I noticed.
wasn't anywhere on the list, so that must tell you something. I mean, did I think it was anything special? No, I mean, like Black Panther. Everyone was saying Black Panther was this great movie. I'm like, I didn't think it was anything fucking special. I liked it, but I'm not going to be like, oh my God, it was the greatest fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
Same thing with Captain Marvel. People are like, oh yeah, this movie's going to be like, dude, it's okay. It's a good movie. It's good. It's not good, bad, or indifferent. I liked it. That's all I got to say. I liked it. But the best part about Captain Marvel was the Stan Lee cameo with him reading the Mallrat script. I'm like you, man. I hate seeing money get thrown here, there, and everywhere, and a shit product coming out of it.
Yeah, for me, there's no excuse. There's no excuse when you have like a blank check. You should be making it's not a favorite of mine, but you should be trying to make Gone with the Wind every single time,
You shouldn't be. You shouldn't do that. And that's what they did with Dark Phoenix. And it was just like, it was $200 million fucking wasted. It was a terrible
thrown to the winds.
Thrown to the winds. And now the 20th Century Fox that we know it is gone. It's all Disney now.
Yes, it seems to be gone. We're never going to hear that fanfare again or not? I mean,
the fanfare will always be there. I mean, it's just now it's like when a Disney movie was released under the Touchstone label or the Hollywood label or Caravan Pictures, you got that type of that introduction. Yeah, it's just you're gonna get the Fox fanfare with every movie. You just don't get it with Star Wars anymore because that's exclusively Disney now. It is what it is. They got bought. At the end of an era, Fox did it to themselves. By not making good, by sitting on the Star Wars franchise, by not making good comic movies, save for the Deadpool films.
Okay.
Those were great movies.
I really enjoyed The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. It was a movie that Terry Gilliam tried to get made for years with various people. He had Johnny Depp associated with it. He had Michael Palin associated with it. He finally got it made. He finally got his script back because they stole his script from him. They rewrote it a little bit to turn it not into a time travel epic, but a contemporary fantasy. And Adam Driver is in the movie, playing the part that originally originated by Johnny Depp, with Jonathan Pryce. Now, Jonathan Pryce in this movie should get an Oscar nomination. I don't know if he will because it barely got a release. We saw it in a one-night-only kind of a thing. But Jonathan Pryce was fantastic in the film. He was absolutely fantastic.
I do want to say I did have one more also ran. Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Okay, that is something I have not seen, but do want to see. I definitely want
that
to see that.
that was a really good also ran for me because that was Kevin Smith doing a comeback movie for the universe, and it was funny as fuck, and it was everything I wanted it to be, and then some.
From what I understand, he took a bunch of characters from all of his movies, put them into this movie, and some of these characters are played by the same actors, and some actors are playing different parts, multiple parts throughout it. So he's got all the actors that he worked with before playing multiple parts in the movie as all part of his, I guess, View universe, right?
Correct.
He even gets Dietrich Bader in there, the guy who wanted to see...
Oh, what a lovely tea party.
Oh, at the end, could you say, oh, what a lovely tea party? And he's smacking his hands together and rubbing them together. Can't wait to see Jay just unload in Silent Bob's face, which is one of the most ridiculous fucking things ever.
I loved that movie, man.
I mean, Jesus Christ. And that movie had Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill in it.
This one didn't have any major cameo because this one was done for a lot less money. This one was done for $10 million versus Strike Back was $20 million. This one was $10 million, and this was
I mean, like Kevin Smith can be one of these guys who will just fucking pick up a camera and do what he can with the money he has.
Yeah,
and that's a filmmaker right there. Even though he has often said that he has no style, he does have kind of a style. Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
his style. You know what he likes to do? I mean, we made a joke on the way to the theater. We were talking on the way to the theater, and I was like, "No ticket." What that was a Kevin Smith joke based on a line of dialogue from an Indiana Jones movie.
He's got his own style. His dialogue alone, the dialogue that man can write, like that's up there with Tarantino, man.
Yeah, I mean, like when it comes to Kevin Smith. At least back in his prime, there's only two movies I really don't like of his. One is Jersey Girl, and the other one, I think, I'm not a big fan of Chasing Amy.
I like Chasing Amy, but it's my least favorite out of the universe movies.
But I like Clerks. I like Mallrats. Mallrats gets a bad rap. I don't know why.
It does because it was a studio film.
That kid is still on the escalator.
It was a fucking studio film. That's why. When I say studio, I mean actual fucking studio film, not Miramax. That kind of Miramax. Like this was Universal trying to do a cash grab on fucking Kevin Smith, this new great voice of the fucking 90s. Yeah, we're just gonna make him make this fucking crazy movie about them all, but we're gonna have to make him do readings for the people he wants.
But the big problem with Mallrats is it wasn't marketed properly. They did not know how to market this. It could have been a huge fucking hit. It was so well made. It's so funny.
Yeah, but like you said, it was marketed terribly. Because
they're fucking straight. These suits, they don't know anything.
They don't know shit.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily the Weinstein saw some shit in him back in the day, and they let him do Chasing Amy. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Because that allowed him to make Dogma.
And Dogma, I believe, to be his best film.
That is his best.
It was his most intensely personal vision, and it was just very well made.
It's a very well made film.
But that was back years ago. That was 22 years ago, I think that movie came out.
That was really a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
All right, so we should probably wrap this one up. This is the last podcast I'm doing for the year. How about that? I don't think I'm doing anything more until January. So I'll see you all next year.
See you next year, and let's just hope that 2020 is a good year for movies, just like 2019 was.
All right. I feel like I should roll the At the Movies music or something.
You should.
Gene, you ignorant slut.
How can your heart be so cold?